We've all been taught that being nice is the way to get along with people. We smile, we nod, we add please and thank you, and we hope that everything will work out. Politeness feels safe, it feels good, it makes us think that we're handling situations well, even the difficult ones. But here's the hard truth. Politeness alone rarely changes outcomes. Nice doesn't solve problems, and it certainly doesn't resolve conflict. If your goal is to truly be effective in conversations that matter, you have to go beyond being nice. Being nice is often a disguise for avoidance. We hope that if we say the right words or soften the truth, the tension will disappear. But problems have a way of growing in silence. What we fail to address today comes back stronger tomorrow. The issues don't vanish because we smile at them, they fester. Being nice can lull us into a false sense of security, making us believe that harmony exists, when in reality we are ignoring the very things that need our attention the most. The danger of relying on niceness is that it can prevent real connection. People may like you, but do they respect you? Do they take your words seriously? If your communication is filtered through constant politeness, the real message gets lost. Difficult conversations require clarity, courage, and honesty. They require showing up fully, even if that makes people uncomfortable. Niceness is a mask. Effectiveness is authenticity, and authenticity often looks braver than being liked. When we face difficult conversations, we have a choice: seek approval or seek understanding. Being nice is usually about approval. It's about making people comfortable and avoiding conflict. But seeking understanding is different. It requires saying what needs to be said, even when it risks discomfort. It requires standing in your truth and expressing it clearly. It's not about rudeness. It's about honesty with intention. Honesty communicates respect because it treats others as capable of handling the truth. Niceness alone often fails because it lacks direction. A nice conversation without clarity is like a ship without a rudder. You may be polite, you may be agreeable, but you drift aimlessly. Difficult conversations need a destination. They need focus. They need the courage to address the core issues rather than skimming the surface with kind words. Being nice without purpose can even make things worse because it can confuse others about your priorities, your expectations, or your boundaries. Let's talk about the emotional impact. Being nice might protect you from immediate tension, but it doesn't protect your energy, your integrity, or your long-term outcomes. People can sense when you're holding back. They know when politeness is a shield rather than a bridge. And over time, constant niceness without substance can create resentment, both inside you and in others. True influence comes from clarity and courage, not from keeping everyone happy or trying to avoid discomfort. Finally, consider this. Every important conversation you will ever have in your life is not a social call. It's an opportunity for growth, for clarity, for resolution. Nice words are optional. Clarity is essential. Politeness is a tool. Honesty is a weapon. Being nice may feel safe, but it will rarely move mountains. The people who achieve impact, build trust, and create meaningful change are those who speak clearly, stand firmly, and act with courage, not those who hope a smile will carry the day. Avoiding reality is one of the most common traps we fall into during difficult conversations. We tell ourselves that if we ignore the problem long enough, it will fix itself. We hope that by staying pleasant, polite, or agreeable, the tension will fade away, but reality doesn't work that way. Problems left unspoken only grow stronger, more complex, and more damaging over time. The longer we avoid the truth, the more entrenched the issues become, and the harder they are to confront when we finally must. When we avoid reality, we're not protecting anyone. We're postponing the inevitable. The discomfort we fear is temporary, but the consequences of silence are lasting. Missed opportunities, damaged relationships, and personal frustration all pile up silently when we refuse to face what is real. Avoiding difficult conversations is like stepping around cracks in the sidewalk. Eventually, you stumble. The cracks don't disappear because you ignore them, and the fall is usually harder than it would have been if you had confronted the problem early There's also a subtle danger in avoidance. It creates illusions of control. We convince ourselves that being nice or keeping quiet is a form of influence. But it's really the opposite. Avoidance hands control to the circumstances instead of taking it for ourselves. We allow assumptions to grow, misunderstandings to fester, and resentment to build. Every unspoken word is a chance for miscommunication to take root. And the longer we wait, the deeper those roots grow. Reality ignored is reality strengthened. Avoiding reality also erodes trust. People can sense when we're not fully present, when we're sidestepping issues to protect comfort or preserve politeness. Silence or deflection may seem harmless, but it communicates that the truth is negotiable. And when trust is compromised, every future conversation becomes more difficult. Avoidance sets a precedent. It signals to others that it's safer to hide feelings, withhold feedback, or skirt accountability because confrontation is scary or unwelcome. Facing reality requires courage, and courage often comes with discomfort. It means acknowledging difficult truths about ourselves, others, or the situation at hand. It requires that we step into the tension rather than around it. When we confront the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, we create clarity. We create opportunity. We create space for resolution. Avoidance, by contrast, only delays growth and leaves issues unresolved, making future conversations heavier and more emotionally charged. There's another consequence of avoidance. It diminishes personal responsibility. When we refuse to address the hard truths, we give away our power to change outcomes. Problems are allowed to dictate the pace, direction, and tone of our interactions instead of us. Difficult conversations are not just about others. They are about taking ownership of how we communicate, how we set boundaries, and how we respond to challenges. Reality avoided is responsibility denied, and denial only deepens frustration. Finally, consider the long-term cost of avoiding reality. It shapes the culture of your relationships, your workplace, and your life. Silence becomes the default. Problems multiply quietly. Resentment accumulates. Opportunities for growth vanish. Avoidance may feel safe in the moment, but over time it compounds harm. Difficult conversations are inevitable, necessary, and transformative, and the only way to navigate them successfully is to face reality head-on, without flinching, without hiding, without compromise. Speaking your truth is one of the most powerful tools you have in any difficult conversation. Too often, we hold back because we fear how others will respond. We water down our words, soften our points, or avoid the core issue entirely. But truth isn't something to hide. It's something to express with clarity, confidence, and intention. The people who make the most impact are not the ones who avoid conflict. They are the ones who speak with authority, honesty, and courage. Speaking your truth requires clarity above all else. You have to know exactly what you think, what you feel, and what you need. Without that clarity, your words become muddled and your message gets lost in the fog of uncertainty. People can sense hesitation, and hesitation often weakens your influence. Difficult conversations demand precision, and the first step toward precision is understanding your own truth fully before you even open your mouth. Confidence is not arrogance, it's conviction. It's standing firmly in your beliefs and expressing them without apology. When you speak your truth confidently, you create space for others to respond authentically as well. Confidence inspires trust, respect, and attention. Even if your message is difficult to hear, it will be received with more openness if it comes from someone who speaks with certainty rather than from someone who stumbles through polite but vague statements. Many people fear speaking their truth because they equate honesty with confrontation. They worry about conflict, rejection, or backlash. But avoiding the truth to avoid discomfort only prolongs tension. Difficult conversations are not a threat. They are an opportunity to create clarity, resolve misunderstandings, and strengthen relationships. Speaking your truth with intention transforms fear into focus and discomfort into direction. Emotions will always play a role when you speak your truth. You may feel anxiety, frustration, or even guilt, but the goal is not to suppress those emotions. It is to harness them constructively. Emotional awareness allows you to express yourself fully without being controlled by reactive impulses. Confidence comes from understanding your emotions, owning them, and channeling them into clear and purposeful communication. Speaking your truth also requires empathy. Confidence does not mean bulldozing over others' feelings. It means expressing your perspective while remaining aware of theirs. Difficult conversations are a two-way street, and being heard is only part of the equation. The other part is creating a space where the other person can hear you without feeling attacked. Confidence paired with empathy creates dialogue, not defensiveness. Finally, consider the long-term power of speaking your truth consistently. Every conversation where you express yourself clearly builds your credibility and influence. Silence or diluted messages erode respect over time, while clarity and courage establish authority. Difficult conversations are an inevitable part of life, and the ability to speak your truth with confidence ensures that you are not only heard, but understood, respected, and remembered for integrity and authenticity. When it comes to difficult conversations, many people believe emotions are the enemy. They think that anger, frustration, or anxiety are signs that they are failing, and they try to suppress them at all costs. But here's the truth. Emotions are not your enemy. They are your signal. They tell you what matters, what is unresolved, and what needs attention. The key is not to eliminate emotions, but to understand them, manage them, and channel them strategically into the conversation. Suppressing emotions can lead to disastrous outcomes. When you hide what you feel, you create a disconnect between your inner truth and your outer expression. People can sense the tension even if you try to smile through it, and the conversation can become confusing or ineffective. Emotions are a natural part of being human, and difficult conversations often stir them up. Recognizing this early allows you to prepare, regulate, and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Emotional intelligence is the secret weapon in any challenging dialogue. It is the ability to recognize your emotions, understand their source, and use that awareness to guide your communication. When you bring emotional intelligence into a conversation, you can stay calm while expressing passion, remain grounded while addressing conflict, and convey your message clearly without letting feelings take over. Emotions become a tool for connection, not a liability. It's also important to acknowledge the emotions of the other person. Difficult conversations are not one-sided. They involve two or more people, each with their own feelings and perspectives. When you recognize, validate, and respond to their emotions, you create a space where dialogue is possible. People feel heard when their emotions are acknowledged, and this creates the conditions for mutual understanding, even when the topics are uncomfortable or contentious. Fear is one of the strongest emotions that holds people back in difficult conversations. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being misunderstood, it all compounds the challenge. But fear is also a compass. It points to what is important, what is vulnerable, and what needs courage to address. By leaning into fear and allowing it to inform your approach rather than paralyze you, you transform a potential obstacle into an opportunity for clarity, growth, and deeper connection. Anger and frustration are also signals, not failures. They often indicate that boundaries have been crossed, needs are unmet, or values are challenged. Learning to express anger constructively is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. It requires pausing, choosing your words carefully, and focusing on the impact rather than the insult. When done well, expressing strong emotions can clarify expectations, establish boundaries, and move the conversation forward rather than shutting it down. Finally, consider the long-term benefit of embracing emotions in difficult conversations. When you understand, manage, and utilize emotions effectively, you gain credibility, influence, and respect. Conversations that might have felt tense, intimidating, or impossible become opportunities for connection, resolution, and growth. Emotions, when handled with awareness and intention, are a bridge rather than a barrier. They give weight to your words, authenticity to your presence, and power to your communication. Boundaries are one of the most misunderstood concepts in communication. Many people think setting boundaries is selfish or rude, when in reality, boundaries are a form of respect for yourself and for others. They are not walls designed to shut people out. They are guidelines that define what is acceptable and what is not. In difficult conversations, boundaries act as a compass, helping you stay grounded in your truth while navigating tension, conflict, and discomfort effectively. Without boundaries, difficult conversations become chaotic. You may find yourself giving in to pressure, compromising values, or saying yes when you mean no. Over time, this erodes trust in yourself and in your relationships. People learn what they can get away with, and you feel increasingly frustrated, unheard, or taken advantage of. Boundaries are the antidote to this chaos. They give structure, clarity, and a framework for communication that is both respectful and assertive. Boundaries require self-awareness. To set them, you must know your limits, your needs, and your priorities. What are you willing to tolerate? What will you not compromise? This clarity allows you to enter difficult conversations with a clear sense of direction. Boundaries are not static. They evolve as you grow, as relationships develop, and as circumstances change. But the consistent element is your commitment to honor your values and communicate them clearly to others. Establishing boundaries also benefits the other person. People are more likely to respond positively when they understand expectations and limits. Boundaries create transparency, reduce confusion, and prevent misunderstandings. They signal that you are serious, intentional, and trustworthy. Difficult conversations are often uncomfortable because of ambiguity, but boundaries eliminate uncertainty. They show that you respect both your own time and energy and the other person's ability to respond responsibly. Boundaries are most effective when communicated with clarity and kindness. This is not about issuing ultimatums or provoking defensiveness. It's about expressing limits firmly while maintaining empathy. Phrases like, "I need to," or "I cannot accept," convey firmness without aggression. Difficult conversations become opportunities for cooperation rather than conflict when boundaries are presented as a mutual framework for respect, understanding, and accountability. Resistance is natural when you set boundaries, especially if others are used to you being overly accommodating. Expect pushback, testing, or even emotional reactions. This is not a failure. It is a signal that boundaries are working. How you respond to resistance matters. Consistency, calmness, and reaffirmation of your limits demonstrate integrity and reinforce respect. Over time, people learn that your boundaries are not negotiable in a way that undermines your values, but flexible in a way that allows dialogue and compromise within safe limits. Finally, boundaries are an investment in long-term health, trust, and effectiveness. They prevent resentment, burnout, and miscommunication. They give weight and credibility to your words, making your honesty more powerful and your difficult conversations more productive. By clearly defining what is acceptable, you protect yourself from being manipulated or misunderstood, while simultaneously providing the other person a clear roadmap for engagement, collaboration, and mutual respect.